All good things come to an end, and this series is no different. But the TT doesn't just end. Riders come and go, but the mountain stays. And in this place, age isn't a weakness, it's a weapon. Where other sports peak early, this one favours the seasoned, the brave, the wise, the ones who've made peace with fear and found something close to flow at 200 miles an hour.
The TT, and we've said it a million times, is unique. And it's not like any other motorsport event. If you're in car driving and car racing, bike racing, in championships, you start off small and you build up and you go through all those different championships. But the TT isn't like that. You know, it's not a dozen rounds a year, year on year. You can't really learn your craft at the Isle of Man TT. You need really to know how to race a bike before you come to the Isle of Man TT. Like with short circuit, GPs, World Superbikes, everyone's talking, you know, you've got young lads, young lads, young lads.
Think of an Olympic athlete and the, you know, mid-20s or whatever at their peak.
Obviously short circuits, you have to be peaking when you're friggin' 16. End of story. If you're not peaking, especially in GPs, if you're not peaking, you're screwed.
You know, short circuit, you're 30, you're washed up and that's it, you're done. You know, it's like, see ya.
In that environment, you have to be friggin' shit hot, young.
Most tracks are accessible all year round, you know, provided the weather isn't prohibiting you from riding.
Younger riders in World Championships, they can rack up the miles pretty quickly in a year on all the circuits, whereas...
There's one TT per year, and it's 1 week of practice, 1 week of race, and that's it. It's always only ever going to be that period.
You know, this place isn't for young hotheads, you know, it's not the crashers that are pushing it to the limit and crashing all the time, you know.
You can't live like that as a young rider because you're going through a wall if it goes wrong.
You can't just go nuts out around here. You have to calculate everything, and the amount of that only comes with age.
You can go off and do that as a young rider, and then the TT's always here. And to be fair, we prefer that kind of calibre rider.
You've got to have an older head on your shoulders, and the way you ride this place, you've got to have that maturity and put that, like, aggression away.
You need to get all that out of your system, pretty much when you're younger and stuff, and then maybe come back to it.
You know, you don't ride the TT course like you do a short circuit. You know, it's a different kind of style. It's a bit more relaxed and a bit more mature of a style, so.
There's just too much to learn, you know. When I came here, I've been riding 1000cc bikes for 10 years. You know, I'd ridden superstock bikes, I'd ridden super bikes for over 8 years at that point.
You need to have that little bit of maturity in you to know what the bike's doing underneath you.
I didn't need to learn the bike, I needed to learn the circuit.
Because obviously experience at the Isle of Man helps so much because the tracks, like I said, so hard to learn. You never stop learning. As obviously the older you get more experience at what you're doing, don't you? To a certain point, obviously there's a peak to that.
The TT, yeah, you have got to still be fit, but it's more experience than anything else.
Little tidbits of information, little bits of knowledge that most people will look at and say, okay, this is how you do it, but if you actually know what you're doing, you can go through there a gear higher, a little bit quicker, or just things that only ever happen with experience.
Maturity is a big thing. Experience is a big thing.
The quickest you can learn is by how many years you can be at it.
The more years you come back and the more years you learn, the faster you go. So you just keep going faster.
So the person that has the longest running career is going to have the most experience, and there's no substitute for experience.
And I think that's maybe why we have older champions than you do elsewhere.
That's my take on why the older guys are still hauling ass.
You know, I feel like, you know, the peak age of the TT, it being a little bit older, it doesn't surprise me. It really doesn't.
It's pretty logical if you break it down.
30s, you're firing on all cylinders around here at the TT. Where Michael is really, Dunlop. I mean, he's just battering wins out. I was in my prime mid-30s. I was at my best, 100%, when I was mid-30s.
you know, it keeps you youthful and keeps you buzzing because of what it is. It keeps you young, definitely. You look at the way Molly rides, the way Ben rides, McGuinness, Joey, they're just, you know, finding that lovely balance and not doing anything obscure. You've got to stick your neck out for sure, but also you've got to know when to wind it in and just brake a bit earlier and drive through a corner rather than scratching through it, you know.
You've got to be a certain level of motorcycle racer at the top of their game to come to the Isle of Man to succeed, and I think maybe that's why the older riders tend to do the winning.
The proof in the pudding is a guy like John McGuinness. I mean, Christ almighty, I don't even know how old John is, and you know, he's still going out there cracking out 130 mile an hour laps. Like, that's moving.
Few have found that rhythm more often than John McGuinness, a master of the mountain. Still chasing perfection all these years on, but even the smoothest of throttle hands can't hold back time forever. Is this the final chapter? Or is the story still unfolding?
I mean, at 52, you shouldn't really be doing it. Should be a cut-off, or should there be a cut-off? I don't know. 50 should take your licence off you. I don't know. That will make you stop and you've got no choice. You know, if somebody can make the decision above you or put you down a class or run 650s or something for 5 years and then they wean you off it, it's like a drug, innit? wean you off the big drugs onto the little drugs and off. But
nobody should tell you when to hang your levers up apart from you. Because if you're still enjoying yourself and you're still fit to do it, it doesn't matter if you're in 2nd, 6th, 10th, 20th, 30th. If you're doing good lap times and you're still enjoying riding your motorbike, why shouldn't you ride your motorbike?
There's some class examples of people who are getting older and they're getting faster.
A bit like McGuinness and Rutter, what are they, 52 this year, I think? And they're still going, and they're still inside the top 10. And they're obviously still enjoying it.
If you look at McGuinness where he is at the moment, he's still having the time of his life, and he still has pace. All the newcomer riders and the ones that have been around for ages, they're still nowhere near where he is.
I'm really, really in a good place. I think, for me, it's fantastic. Dean's got all the pressure on him now, like I did. For me, I'm slightly under the radar a bit. I can't win anymore. I'm dead happy. I ride around, the sun's shining, I'm getting top 10. 100 pleased for me to shake hands with all the dealers, do all the corporate stuff, all that. I'm happy to do all that. I'm happy to do everything about it. I love the Isle of Man. You know, we're flying this year. We've done 2 trips to Portugal, 2 to Spain, been to Bahrain F1. We've just been in a right sweet spot with everything. And the bikes, again, the icing on the cake. You know, life in general is fun. And I get to ride my bikes, and then I get to go to the TT, and, you know, everybody's behind me to a degree, family and friends and sponsors and stuff, so why not? You know, I'm not embarrassing myself.
Why should you quit? I mean, it's not anyone else's place to say it. Who's got anyone right to tell him? You know what I mean? If he was riding around in 20th place, maybe, on a factory Honda or whatever, but he's not, is he?
John McGuinness and Isle of Man just go together.
He wants to come because he loves doing it. So I think power to him. Let him ride as old as they want. Because if you look across at the sidecars.
Some stories have finished their final lap. Last year, Dave Molyneux stepped away for good. 17 wins, 3 decades, an engineer, a racer, a Manxman through and through.
I mean, Dave Molyneux, Jesus, what a legend that guy is.
Yeah, he's King of the Mountain Sidecars still here.
He's earned it, that's for sure. He's always tried to do something different. Again, exceptional talent.
And I mean, Dave has dedicated his whole life to racing.
The amount of effort and sweat, blood and tears, the way he's pushed technology is incredible. You know, he's been absolutely willing to try anything and everything to get a successful sidecar outfit around the Isle of Man TT course, which is not an easy thing.
Another great of TT riding, the bikes that he's rode through the years and the years that he's been competitive and kept coming up with new ideas and kept young riders at bay, you know, it's just testament to him. To win 17, incredible.
Yeah, I take my hat off to him. I must say that shows a man with stacks of knowledge.
Full respect to Dave and what he's done, and no one can take that away from him.
I mean, mate, all power to him. I mean, what a legend.
But obviously Dave knew it was right, and I'm glad he knew it was right. I'm glad he found it, you know, because it's hard sometimes to understand when it's time.
So I decided pretty much a year earlier that that would be my last one. You can't get to 60 years old, I don't care who you are, and expect to be as fast as you were when you were 40. I won my last TT at 50, and then I felt like it was getting more difficult as a rider to keep that pressure on yourself. So I just thought, you know, I've done this for nearly 40 years. Maybe I'm better suited to putting that knowledge and experience into the event or the competitors if they want it. You know, I was really fortunate to be able to be in the position to get a podium finish, and the bike was good, everything worked okay on the day, and we come in third. And that was a good way to, definitely a good way to say, I'm not racing modern sidecars around the TT anymore, or anywhere else for that matter, you know.
Dave Molyneux didn't just win races, he reshaped sidecar racing from the inside out. A builder, a thinker, a record breaker. With 17 wins to his name, he walked away in 2024 as the most successful sidecar driver of all time. But he's not the only sidecar legend we've lost to retirement in recent years. Another giant of the sport chose to hang up his leathers too. Someone who, in their own way, left just as deep a mark on the mountain.
I always took a bit of time before each TT just to take myself on my mountain bike or walk my dog or whatever. Just a bit of time and just reflect and make sure I could commit and I was into it and I wanted to do it again. Because it's not just me riding it, you know, I've got to think about Ben as well. And I've always said yes, but I've always been dead honest with myself and questioned myself. And I did it after TT, after 23, and I couldn't find the answer that I needed. So I thought I'll leave it a bit and come back to that. And I couldn't get myself out of that way of thinking, and I just thought to myself, if you can't say yes to yourself, it's probably time to stop.
I felt for him massively because it's not an easy thing to do, not for anyone. This sport that we do in this place is just a massive addiction, so.
There's nothing against TT, I love TT. It was just, I think personally I'd done enough, rolled the dice enough, won enough.
I was upset, I was sad, but I was also happy, and I also felt something that I'd not felt, which was I could really just celebrate his success. And because we just kept going year on year on year on year, and maybe I just didn't give myself time to appreciate, you know, what he's achieved.
The last 2 laps of that race, the last race I ever did, were like sublime. If you could bottle that and sell it, you'd be rich.
A load of emotions. I didn't want him to stop, but I also want him to be happy, and I love him as my brother, and I'm so proud of him of what he's achieved, and I get it. You know, his success is incredible. His stats are high, and I'll miss him, but I won't, because he'll be there.
It was just, everything was right, the sun was shining, we did that lap record, all them people were cheering us on, And I got back in winner's enclosure and I just thought, wow, I don't think, it can't get any better than this. That was like the peak. And I think after that, I just started to come down off it a little bit. And it is what it is now. I've made my bed, so I'll lie in it. I've had such an amazing time of it. I've got no regrets. I can't look back on it in any bad way. And I stopped when I was at my peak, and that's a cool thing to take away. So I'm gonna grab it and run off.
So when is the right time? Keep going, lap after lap, till the fire fades, or walk away while the cheers still echo? One win that changes everything, or 29 that define a legacy? What does it take to know when to hang up the leathers?
I don't know, when's the right time to hang up the leathers?
I have thought about it, but I still don't know when.
Well, not yet.
Again, the TT is a completely different beast to anything else, and if a rider can get around safely and they can enjoy it, there is no reason why they should stop.
As long as you're fit, able to ride it and do it, you do it whether you're 50, 60, 70, 80.
I said to someone once upon a time, once I've won a TT, I think that'll probably be it, but like someone else said to me, once you've won one, then you want more, don't you?
Only you know when it's time to retire.
I've never had another thought in my mind than racing motorbikes.
You see riders giving up and then they kind of hampering for it all the time still.
I never want to stop the TT. I'm addicted.
You try and explain this place to people, and then you try and explain what it is to stop.
I really haven't a clue what I'll do if I ever stop racing.
If you quit racing on short circuits, you can always go do a track day for the rest of your life. You could go and do a club race for the rest of your life. When you pack this in, you can never go around it again. You can't ever have a closed road to ride round.
I've been so sore for a year, and I still look at everybody and I'm fucking raging with jealousy, do you know what I mean? I can't do that and they're getting to do it. But yeah, it's like hurt me beyond belief. Like if that was anything else in life, you'd just go, ah, oh, fuck this, I'm not coming back. But why? I don't know.
The time to hang up the leathers is when I no longer enjoy it. And I have absolutely no idea when that'll be. At the minute, I can't ever see it happening.
I'd like to think that the riders know before they have to be told. My character is not to give up, so maybe I'll have to be told before I'm willing to accept the reality. I don't know, it's a hard one to answer.
Why would you want to even think about jacking it in?
Yeah, that's my point. Yeah, you're going to have to be told. You're not going to do it yourself.
There's no blueprint for it. Not for a final lap. Not for the moment you let go of something that shaped you. In the flow that only the brave find, in the blur of colour and memory. In the names etched into stone and the silence that follows a record-breaking roar. We've listened in on legends, we've traced lines few can follow. We stood still while the world flew by. And though this might be the end of this version, of this chapter, just know we're still out there between the hedges.